last night we got a chance to see Drake Maye do a little something. The Washington Commanders did not have Daniels play for, whatever reason that they feel that way. Third preseason game, not a lot of people playing. New England Patriots were different, though. They had Jacoby start the game, then they had Drake Maye play. Both of them were able to showcase some stuff, even though Jacoby's taken off after one series. Feels like Drake Maye is going to be the starter up there, which has led to a lot of conversation around should he not? What is Dan Orlovsky is begging them, please don't do that. Let this guy kind of develop even more and even more. Boston Connor, how do you feel on the entire subject as a Patriots fan?
Yeah, I mean, the conversation yesterday was all around how bad the offensive line was. Now, their leader, David Andrews, wasn't playing, and that's where a lot of the pressure was coming for most of the snaps that Drake Maye was dropping back to pass. But personally, if this is a true QB competition, it really, without question, is Drake Maye. He has played better than Jacoby from jump. Now, I know you don't want to start a guy who's a rookie that, is only 21, that needs time to develop, but at the same time, he's going to have to be tossed in there during, whether it's the first 8 weeks or the last 9 weeks, he's going to be playing football. So if this is a competition, Drake Maye has won it. He's been more impressive. He's great in the pocket. I mean, he threw a completion with one shoe on yesterday. Show me another rookie QB doing that around town. I don't think there was one. But honestly, I personally think that you got to wheel him out there. The offensive line is going to be a problem all year long. It's not going to change between now and then. Look at this. I mean, a guy dropping back to pass.
Mayo said they're going to be hunting, though, right?
How about that? Yeah, he said being third on the waivers, there's a chance, the starting guard today isn't the starting guard tomorrow. Now, I don't know if you can just pick up some superstar lineman at that position in waivers, but maybe they're looking to wheel and deal as far as trades go. You never know what could happen there. Trent Williams still holding out, so hey, who knows? Maybe Trent Williams is getting traded to the New England Patriots. But no.
Yeah, hey, hasn't been settled yet.
You never know.
Haven't seen him.
No, and we've been in contact with them with Ayuk. Let's just, mix and match and do Trent Williams instead. But no, I think you have to start Drake Maye. It stinks that the plan was Jacoby. Of course, he can be the guy in the bridge quarterback, but Maye has just been completely better. But you've been there. It does feel like, right, even with this brutal shot Jacoby took and that he might be hurt, that you got to roll with the guy who's impressed the most.
Yeah, I mean, just so much we aren't privy to. We haven't seen in like practices and obviously meeting and how much he understands. It's the conversation that we have about a lot of these quarterbacks, especially rookie quarterbacks. You don't want to throw them out there and then 4 or 6 weeks into the season, you got to pull them, go to another guy. What does that do to their confidence? Is he getting the shit beat out of him behind this offensive line? All those different questions. I like what they did, how they addressed the skill positions on the outside. They are young guys, so they got to learn how to play. So maybe you want to vet under center to kind of bring them along until Drake is ready. I wouldn't go as far as like, Dan O, who's like, I'm begging, please don't do it. Don't put the guy out there.
He did a lot, didn't he? I was really Dan O.
It's a lot. It's a lot because Caleb's going to start. Jaden is obviously going to start. Bo Nix is going to start. It's going to be rookie quarterback starting. That's kind of like how things go at this day and age. When we were playing, it was different. They waited maybe a year until they were ready. But I think right now, you said it sounds like Drake. Drake, it kind of still sounds like Jacoby to me until otherwise, and I think that's a smart thing to do until Drake is completely ready.
What's happening back in New England right now? And not just New England, I guess it can happen anywhere, but whenever you have a plan, let's say the plan is we're going to draft somebody with the number 3 overall pick, we're going to bring in a veteran quarterback who's been a starter in numerous places that we have respect for, and then we're going to let the young buck kind of watch, learn, and then inevitably they will become the starter. Then you have a preseason where young buck plays really good, veteran guy, maybe gets banged up a little bit, but he would be able to make it back into the game. How do you balance, if you're New England, and you were New England, but if you are New England, playing a rookie too early? Are you worried you're going to ruin his confidence? Take me through the mind of what you think is potentially happening there, and then also other places in which it takes place around the NFL on playing somebody too early, or do you baptize them and let them kind of do their thing? Is that kind of the debate that's taking place, you think?
Well, I mean, first of all, I don't think you really know how anybody's playing in preseason. I mean, especially at the quarterback position. The schemes are so simple from the other side of the ball, generally speaking. You're running for the most part, you're running very basic schemes. You're trying to evaluate your players. You're trying to get them to play the good fundamentals that they know how to play. You're not disguising things. You just want your defensive players to be, ready to react and play fast and quickly. And you don't want to put in like 1,000 adjustments against a team who offensively isn't running that much anyway. So most of those games are very basic. When you watch the games, it's 2 or 3 coverages. You see a lot of man-to-man coverage because teams like to evaluate their players and see who can play man-to-man and who can't. And so, look, the zone teams play zone. I'm not saying that, but you do things to evaluate your players. I think to come out of preseason and say, oh, this guy's really playing good, or that guy's really playing good, I wouldn't put much stock in that at all. I put more stock in what they're doing in practice, and let's see what happens in the first 3 or 4 regular season games when the opponents specifically attack certain players based on what they think they can and can't get on them, and then let's see how they're playing then. I've never felt like, that's why opening day is so hard. You don't know your team well enough to know how they're, even if it's the same players, it's different circumstances. You're going against a different opponent than you saw last year. That new team's different. I think it takes you a good, 3 or 4 games to really know what your team is good at. I thought Andy did a great job of that last year. Kansas City learned how to win differently than they had won in the past. They ran with won with Pacheco. They won with defense. They won with a different style of play than kind of what you would kind of thought of them as previously. And now this year it looks like they're going to be a little different this year with Worthy and then the emergence of with their receivers and I would say the running game. So they might go back to being, kind of the higher scoring team they were. I'm not sure if they're as good on defense. They've lost a couple of defensive players. So I think you learn your team every year, and you learn, how you need to win, how you need to win as a team each year. And so I wouldn't place too much stock in any of these guys in preseason. And it's nothing against them. It's more you're getting ready, you're physically getting ready, you're mentally getting yourself into a routine, you're working on your timing and your reactions and all that. But we'll see here in the first few weeks of the season, not necessarily opening day, but by the end of September, we'll start to see how some of these things are playing out. And that's a really interesting month of the season.
Yeah, amen. And thank you for opening your mind up and letting us listen to that, because I think the quote I always heard out of New England from players is like, after Thanksgiving, that's when football matters. Mm-hmm. Like, that's when, it matters. So you don't take too much, like, fear or worry over the first couple weeks. It's like we still got a lot of time to figure out what we are, who we are. We have to get better. Like, the first few weeks is almost when you're trying to, I don't want to say preseason evaluate, but kind of, you're trying to learn your team still over those first few weeks. And then we're trying to sort out how we can do this entire thing if we want to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, look, I don't think you go into the early games saying like, well, we don't care about the games. This is preseason. I'm not saying that. You're going in there to win them, and you're shooting off all your, you're emptying the holster. But I think you got to learn about your team. There's an old saying called midseason form. I think that's really what it is. By the middle of the season, you're in top form. You're in condition. You've had enough reps and experience with your teammates, with your timing, with situations, with communication, with all those things. Like, that's when you should be playing your best football. But obviously in the National Football League, in the end, the only thing that really matters, is how you play in December and January. And I think if you look at the Eagles last year, I mean, they got off to a great start, okay? And then look at the way they finished. They beat Tampa decisively in week 2 or 3, whatever it was last year. And then they got beat by Tampa in the playoffs. You look at Dallas. Dallas had they won the division. I mean, they had another strong team, a really strong team, and then go and lose, to Green Bay in the playoffs, and it was like their season was a disaster. So, in the end, to win a championship, like, you got to play good in December and January. I mean, you just have to, or you can't do it. And there's an example of 2 teams that were both really good teams, I thought, last year, Philadelphia and Dallas, that at the end of the season, they're sitting there looking very disappointed and maybe, I would say, upset at the way things went. And
definitely,
that's different than Kansas City, that kind of was, up and down. And then at the end, they played the best. And so, look, Coach Parcells had a saying that I learned and heeded a long time ago. By the way, belated happy birthday wishes to Bill. His birthday was last week.
Happy birthday, Bob! Never met you. Heard you're awesome. Heard you're awesome.
Bill, Bill would always say, it's not who has the best team, it's which team plays the best. And that's really what it's about. It's not, sure, you got to have talent and you want to have as many good players as possible, but it's who plays the best. It's not about an all-star team. It's about a team that plays well together as a team in all three phases of the game, and players and coaches. So
hell yeah,
that's where I'm at. Look, opening day will be interesting. It's a great environment. It gets things started. It's always very challenging time because you have so much to prepare for and so much time. And, they can only run 65 plays. You can only run 65 plays or whatever it is. But, you look at thousands over the off season and training camp and, drive the players crazy with every adjustment that, over a 16 game season that you might have seen in preparation. But, in the end, like, it's really going to be about fundamentals, about basic execution in all three phases of the game, particularly the kicking game, because a lot of the players who are good in the kicking game haven't even been playing in the preseason. So it's, been the evaluation of some younger players and all that. And so over time, 3, 4, 5 weeks, then things will start to sort out as to who the good players are and who's prepared to play and who isn't. But I wouldn't base too much off preseason. Like, this guy looked good in preseason, he's going to be great. I just have.
Coach, you don't know
Sorry,
shit.
Connor.
The Detroit Lions were undefeated in preseason, and then they went on to lose every single game in the regular season.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the way that goes. Hey, Coach, we can't thank you enough for making us smarter every single week. Enjoy this one. We can't wait to talk to you next Monday.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, this will be an interesting week with a lot of player movement, 1,500 players, right? Transactions one way or another. So it'll be a lot to keep track of, and that'll keep going for another, probably 2 weeks into the second regular season game before things start to settle down. But it'll be interesting to see how a lot of these situations resolve, some of the hold-ins and some of the cuts, and there'll probably be a couple trades here as well. So it'll be interesting to see how things shape up as everybody tries to get positioned for the start of the regular season.